Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Virgin Galactic reports earnings after the market closes on Wednesday, and this is going to be a really big earnings report, in my opinion. The company has now gotten to the point where they're performing a regular cadence of flights. That's exactly what you want to see, is that they can actually take people into space and generate revenue doing that. The problem is they're not generating very much revenue at all, only expecting $1 to $2 million in revenue each quarter in the third and fourth quarter. And they continue to burn a ton of cash, expecting $120 to $130 million in cash burn in each of those quarters as well. To get to a sustainable point, Virgin Galactic needs to build what they call the Delta class spacecraft. That's their next generation spacecraft under construction, under design and construction right now. We're expecting testing to start next year, but it's not going to be in operations until 2026. So what do you have to do in the meantime? Well, you have to literally survive that period of time. And Virgin Galactic has nearly $1 billion in cash on the balance sheet, but that cash will disappear by the time Delta is completed if something doesn't change. And that's exactly what I'm expecting from management. So I want to go over that, some of the progress the company has made, what we know about the balance sheet and cash burn, and then what we have to hear from management, in my opinion, as early as tomorrow. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. Go to fool.com/ASYM for their top 10 stocks to buy right now. And let's just go through a little bit of the progress Virgin Galactic has made this quarter. This was a recent release, but they actually completed their 6th space flight in 6 months. This is something management said they were going to do, is complete a flight about every month, which is the cadence that they can do with their current spacecraft. That is being done. There's going to be the next flight is now not going to happen until January. That's something that they discuss here below. That will be Galactic 6. And in the meantime, they'll be performing annual vehicle inspections, is what they say, and normal pre-flight readiness procedures. But the real news here is that they're actually hitting their regular cadence target for actually getting into space. That's positive. And if this was something that was happening once a week or every few days, then you would have a company that was actually viable long term. But that's what I talked about. They have financial challenges because they're not expecting to generate much revenue at all. This is from their second quarter earnings release, expecting approximately $1 million in revenue for each the third and the fourth quarter. Cash flow negative $120 to $130 million. So about a run rate of $500 million per year. Now, I'll note here they do have $980 million in cash and securities as of the end of June, and there was a little bit of availability to sell stock from a recent authorization. So potential that they were able to raise a little bit more money in the quarter, but offsetting some of the cash burn that was expected to happen in the third quarter. But here's the reason that cash is such a concern for Virgin Galactic. This is the economics of the Delta class spacecraft. So it's going to cost $50 to $60 million to build each of these spaceships. Now the payback is going to be pretty good. If you assume 6 seats are filled at $450,000 per seat, which will eventually happen, there's going to be some backlog of lower price seats early in the launch of this spacecraft, even out to 2026. Would that be about $2.7 million in revenue? And the variable operating costs only about $400,000. Just on a ballpark basis, probably about $2 million in cash could be generated from each flight. So the payback is only about 6 months. They can fly about every week, and they're expected to last for about 500 flights. Really strong potential economics for the Delta class spacecraft. But you have to get to the point where you can actually build it. Not only are you burning about $500 million in cash per year, but now you have to build these spacecraft, and you're not going to have to build one, you're going to have to build 5 to 10 to get to free cash flow positive. So this brings us to where we are this quarter, because I think the ultimate challenge that Virgin Galactic has is they're running out of financing options. If you're a company that needs to raise somewhere around $1 billion to $2 billion in additional cash on top of what's on the balance sheet to build and deploy that Delta class spacecraft, then you're going to have to get that money somewhere. You could sell additional stock, but with the stock trading under $2 per share, as soon as you announce that, the stock's going to fall even further. Now you're on a treadmill where you're just churning out stock, trying to survive. So that doesn't seem like a very attractive option, although it's something that management continues to do. So it's definitely very possible. The other thing you could do is raise debt. Well, the problem with that is you don't have a cash flow business to back raising debt. That's exactly what debt investors want to see. You may be able to raise something like convertible notes. That would be debt that then converts into stock if there's upside in the stock, but you're not going to get great terms on that with the stock trading under $2 per share. So again, an option, but maybe not something that's going to be very attractive to investors, maybe very costly for management to do. The third option, and I think the one that's most appealing, one that I am looking for in this conference call, is partnerships. So there are a number of partners that Virgin Galactic has, companies that are supplying components, that are building parts, and even their mothership is being assembled by another company. Do those companies decide, hey, we're going to actually put some money into Virgin Galactic because we think this, because we long term, we think this is going to be a good customer and we're going to get upside in the stock if that's what we get in return for making that kind of investment? That's what I would expect to see. And we have seen that in some of these other development companies that are running out of cash and saying, hey, we'll give you some upside and we'll ultimately be a customer if you help fund our operations until we get to free cash flow positive. That $1 billion in cash that's on the balance sheet for Virgin Galactic right now looks great, but if the stock continues to fall, the company just runs out of options. And so as I've laid these out, I think it's pretty clear that finding a way for partners to become investors and strategic investors in Virgin Galactic is going to be one path forward, and I think could ultimately be really attractive to the company and get us to the point where that Delta class spacecraft can actually be built. But management talked about this on the last conference call that they're going to, but this is something that's coming up now on every conference call. And this is the one time every quarter that Virgin Galactic is actually talking to investors. So they're going to have to answer, where is the money going to come from to build these Delta class spacecraft? What is the timeline for that launch? We've gotten some details about that, but every quarter we can kind of hammer that home a little bit more, because at the end of the day, if the answers to those questions are not good, then the stock is going to continue to fall. And when the stock falls, you run out of options, run out of financing options as a company. That's not what you want to see from Virgin Galactic, and it's not going to help their development either. So that's what I'm looking for this week. I will be back later in the week covering earnings and what we heard. I'm expecting a big reaction, and I don't know whether that's going to be positive or negative for the stock. But there's always something that we learned from the conference call. So let me know what you think about Virgin Galactic and what you want to hear. Leave those comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. And thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now.